All right, today we have a Makita sander. This video is brought to you by Woodcraft, which makes rear sets and clip-ons and various other billet, aluminum, and or more specialized metal pieces for motorcycles, mostly road racing. Best stuff, bar none, really. There's other ones that are fancier and shinier, or maybe a little bit lighter, but Woodcraft ends up being more substantial with pretty good weight savings and good structure and good engineering. My good buddy Ryan Silly works there, who I went to MMI with in 1996. All right, so I was gifted this. I was helping a friend move, and he had two of these sitting next to each other, and he was like, take one. He's like, I think it works, but I'm not sure. And he was kind of over moving at the time, so I was like, all right, we'll see how it goes. Plugged it in. It made some of the worst grinding, grumbling sounds that you can ever imagine an electric motor will make. Shut it off, and then I took it apart. I didn't take a video of it because I was like, who cares? But the main thing was that a bearing had gone. And I don't know how to describe how gnarly this is, but the fact that this is what it should look like. Both sides should have a seal. The other seal, I think it's right here, was burned out. See how small that is? It had gotten burned out when one of the balls or something in here failed, got too hot. You can see that it's cooked, it's a little bit brown, no longer purely silver. And then over time, I don't know, this would have had to happen pretty quick. So it might have been making some sounds, but when it did happen, boom. And I could show you other tells where underneath this cover, this plastic had even gotten melted. And when I turned it on, it got super hot right off the bat. So anyway, took it apart. The critical part of the disassembly was the fact that this fan was on this side. I can't remember which side the broken bearing was on. I'm pretty sure it was here. But in order to get that bearing off, I had to use a puller to pull up against this fan. So I ordered a new fan knowing that I was going to screw it up as I was doing it. I was like, there's no way that this fan is going to survive. It actually did okay. You can still see it's wavy, but I used a gear puller, a gear separator, which looks like a guillotine come together with kind of a circle cut out in the bottom, enough to be able to pull it. And you can see there's serrations to match the serrations here. It took a lot of force to get that off of there. I didn't use heat because I didn't want to screw up anything else in here with the armature or commutator or whatever. I don't know if this is going to work well. The fact that it did spin with that bearing means that I feel it still is going to be okay. There's a little bit of a wear here where when the bearing did fail, and I'm pretty sure it was this side, it ended up contacting the housing a little bit on this side. I don't think that's enough to make a difference. I did chuck this up in a drill to clean off the commutator, which is the communist potato. I think we talked about that in an earlier video. It's a potato for the people. And I did that without the trick of wrapping wire around the threads. So the threads have gotten a little screwed up here. They're left-hand threads, and I'm going to have to clean that up. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that now or later, but I've got to figure out whether my thread file, which I do have, is okay for this. You know, what will it work on left-hand threads? I would assume it will, because it's not a thread file that goes on it. It's a file that goes this way. So we'll do that and get this thing back together. And half the battle of putting things back together like this is the assembly, not the disassembly. So you actually get to see kind of both. I think the only tricky part to disassembly was getting this out of one of the housings uh, as it was stuck in here, and knowing where to clock it to tap on it, and knowing to tap on it gently so that you don't break the aluminum. I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just doing it. Never throw away tools. Here's a shaft clamping device from probably some suspension component. I have various other setups for doing shafts. Got to get this bearing out. Have no other way to do it. Clamp, clamp. All right, so in order to replace the bearings in that Makita, I didn't need too many special tools. If it was a perfect world, I would have had access to a press to press the bearings on instead of tapping them on. I did have to use a gear splitter, which I don't have in front of me now, but I will try and provide a picture in the video. A couple things that I used that were specialized out of my own toolkit are right here. I used this set of soft jaws. We call them soft jaws because they're aluminum. Oh, everything's going to go everywhere. I just happen to have a set of soft jaws that were made for basically valve bodies and suspension that happen to fit the bearing exactly. That helped me grasp it to work with it. I used sockets to install the bearings. This was a deep enough socket to be able to get over the shaft. I'm talking about shaft. And then tap on with this race, which is critical. If you're tapping on with the outside race, then you're putting pressure on the balls on the inside of there. Is it okay? Yeah, it's probably okay. But it's best to be working as much as you can with the actual piece of metal that is engaged with the part that it's coming on and off with. And the same would go if this bearing was fitting inside here. You would want to be pressing on the outside as it goes in that way. To clean up the threads, which I screwed up when I didn't wrap wire around them when I chucked it up in a drill, I have jeweler's files that are tapered. This really specific one I just got in a pile of parts from my friend Monica, and it is super cool. And I don't even know what you call that file. You could call it a diamond file, but people would think it was made with diamonds. And then I used an Arkansas stone for final cleanup. This is a stone that I used to use to dress Honda RS 125 pistons prior to assembly. And then a nice dense brass hammer was helpful for shocking the pieces together, so mainly getting those bearings on. And a nice dense heavy hammer helps, and also the fact that it has a little give means that it's just easier on things. So wanted to go through those things and basically say, to refurbish something like this, you don't need a whole lot of fancy tools, which is awesome. But that gear splitter thing put underneath the black plastic fan was pretty clutch. And that was a funky thing to do, but got it done.